Welcome to Scaling Up TT. I am your host, Nadia Bayer-Thomas. And today we have a really important topic for all those entrepreneurs, business owners, professionals that are interested in starting a business out there. The topic is scaling. How do you go about scaling your business? Now, it's one thing to build a business, but it's a totally different conversation when it comes to scaling and sustainable growth of that business. And many companies say, how do I break through and not stall? So to answer this pivotal question, we have a visionary in this topic, Daniel Isenberg, the founder of Scalerator. Now, many may ask what Scalerator is. Scalerator is a program that unlocks the growth and the real potential and provides measurable success to companies all over the world. And Daniel will be talking about working globally and the success that he has achieved all over the world to help other organizations grow their businesses. So without further ado, we are going to welcome Daniel Isenberg. Welcome, Daniel.
Thank you, Nadia. It's really fun to be here.
I'm so glad to have you. So Daniel, let's just jump right in, because I think the first question we need to explain to everyone, what is Scalerator?
Scalerator is a program that I and colleagues created about 15 years ago in order to demonstrate in what I call normal places. I mean, we're not in Silicon Valley and Boston and London and Berlin and Stockholm. We're talking about all the rest of the world, basically, what I call normal places. How can you create growth relatively quickly among the broad base of normal companies that may not have or need to have tremendously innovative technology? Some will, some won't. They may not need to have amazing access to capital. Most places in the world, there's not access to very much capital. You need to grow through the best source of capital of all, and that is you need to grow through customers, through selling to customers. So how can we help and support that huge sector of companies in normal places that have the potential to grow, and just you need a little bit of help in unlocking that potential. So Scalerator is a program designed to do that and to show, not only to unlock that growth, but also to communicate that, to show it to the community, so to speak, that growth is possible, and by doing so inspire a whole generation of growth-minded, growth-obsessed, growth-oriented business owners, entrepreneurs, call them whatever you'd like.
I love that, Daniel. I love that vision that you guys had, but share with us what triggered that vision. What took you from a stage of, okay, I'm just going to be doing my normal work, to, you know what, I'm going to step out there and I'm going to create this environment, this ecosystem that can help other businesses all over the world achieve such a success?
So I've been focused on that topic for almost 15 years. Before that, I'll just have to give a little bit of my own background. I confess that I have a PhD in psychology from Harvard, but that's over a decade ago, I think. And since that time, I've been involved in all kinds of aspects of entrepreneurship, whether it's innovation inside of companies and managing change, but more often, or more in helping companies grow in all kinds of different sectors in all kinds of ways. I myself have been an entrepreneur. I've been a venture capitalist. I've been an investor. I've seen how the culture of entrepreneurship and growth evolves. I lived in Israel for 23 years and was part of that so-called startup nation, and played a role in getting that, in moving that forward in the 1980s and 1990s. And so I about 15 years ago was given the opportunity to say, take all that knowledge and all that experience. By the way, I've also been a venture capitalist. I'm an active investor. I've invested in venture funds as well. and take all that experience and knowledge and see how you can use it to stimulate growth in some regions around the world. Again, normal regions around the world.
Of course.
And long story short, and we created Scalerator in as part of that economic development
Mhm.
strategy or thrust, if you will. And that methodology has been used in quite a few places in Colombia and Brazil and India. It's been used in parts of Canada and parts of the United States. And now we hope that it'll be used extensively in TNT. So that's where it all came from. And I was just in Manizales, Colombia, where we started a very significant. By the way, and I brought some of your colleagues from Trinidad and Tobago with me, and we had a
Excellent.
chance. We spent a week, almost a week, meeting with all the different stakeholders, the banks, the universities, the investors, the mentors, the entrepreneurs themselves, the mayor, to try and understand how is it that this, again, a normal place of 500,000 people, how is it that in just a period of about 12, 13 years has turned in from a place with very little opportunity and a feeling that there's very little opportunity to place where there's huge opportunity for growth. And in fact, that's what's happened in Manizales.
Mhm.
The scale up Manizales has been a tremendous success.
I love that. I love the fact that you guys have one stepped away from the quote unquote Silicon Valley structure, but really looked at regular places and how can you make an impact and a difference in those spaces. But one of the things I want to find out though, from your years of experience, there must be some common threads that you see across the board with all the different businesses that you've engaged with.
Of
What are
course.
some of the challenges that you're seeing a lot of the businesses facing?
So I'll make sure that I talk about the three C's, which you know very well. But before doing
Definitely.
that, I want to talk about ambition.
Gotcha.
Ambition is not something you're born with.
Mhm.
It's something that you learn by seeing possibilities in your environment and by feeling empowered to pursue those possibilities. And one of the aspects of our work in creating ecosystems of growth, what we call scale up ecosystems, and uh, showing the growth through the scalerator is when you see it happening. When you, the person, let's say in the street, sees that happening, they say, well, it's possible for me to do it too. It stimulates
Wonderful.
ambition.
Mhm.
Success stimulates ambition. Without
Mhm.
ambition, forget about it. You almost never grow without wanting to grow.
Agreed.
Okay?
Agreed.
Because it's a lot of work. And there's
I can
also risk.
testify to that.
Yeah, of course, you've been there, and there's also risk involved. You can make mistakes, you can fail, those kinds of things are normal and can happen. So, uh, as part of the Scalerator and what so I'm an academic and we can make simple things complicated, but I learned early on in my career it's much more effective to make complicated things simple. So what we've done is we've boiled down this sort of the challenges of growth into the three C's. And the
Mhm.
three C's are customers, capacity, and cash. And we organize the scalerator and almost everything we do around these three C's because we think, well, if you can hack away and grow your customers, your sales, and the number and types of customers that you have, if you can, and also make sure they're good customers, they're and grow the capacity that you have. Grow your people platform, making your existing people more productive or bring in additional people, organizing them differently, creating a culture that allows them to actualize their potential. And the third C is cash, which is a little bit of a lie, I have to confess. It's not really about money, although money is very important. It's about resources. Cash is one of the resources, but there are a lot of substitutes for cash out there. But we call it cash because it's kind of cooler to say three C's than two C's and one R. So,
Agreed.
so we have the three C's, and those are the challenges, and those are also, in a way, the answers. We teach in the Scalerator, and I believe that it's proven to be effective to hack away at those three C's, to hack away at your customers in certain ways. And we give tools for this. Hack away at your capacity, hack away at your cash or the resources. And we can go into each one if you'd like or give examples, but I think those are the challenges that normal companies face. How do we get better customers, more customers, get more value from our customers? How do we build a platform of people to do that? How do we get the resources in order to grow?
And I think
It
that
sounds
is
simple, right? It sounds really simple.
it's
And the
and
truth is, it is
mhm,
simple, but it's
mhm,
hard. People get confused between simplicity and difficulty. It's very simple, but it's very difficult. It's like physical fitness. We all know what we need to do to whatever we want to be in shape and feel good, and we all know exactly what to do. But doing it is a different matter.
correct. And I have to agree with you, Dan, because even when we were in the program, the steps are simple. It's like one, two, three, got it. But when you really have to get into the process of this is where it's about changing that
Yes,
mindset.
absolutely.
And I think for us, and I'm sure you experienced that when you went all through the world, mindset is absolutely important. It's not just knowing the steps, but changing your mindset. It's the same example you gave, even understanding, okay, yes, to lose weight, I need to change my diet, I need to start to exercise. But the knowledge and the mindset need to merge. How did you guys go about bridging that gap, getting the entrepreneur to make that connection and make that shift?
So I'll give you just a part of it because as in the Scalerator, you may or may not know, there are literally hundreds and hundreds of little pieces that make up Scalerator. I hope it seems very simple to you, but behind the scenes, the sausage is quite complex. But I'll say, if I have to say one thing, Nadia, and that
Mhm.
is the quick wins, to show that it works, to show that quickly and relatively simply, you can have some small success. Success doesn't have to be huge, and you don't change ambition with huge success. You change it by having the mindset and the skill set to be able to create small wins, lots and lots of small wins, as in not always, but 90 whatever percent of the time, ultimately, large growth is made up of lots and lots and lots and lots of little growth, small growth.
Correct. Correct.
So I think that has a huge stimulating impact too, to see that you can do something and in a month see the results. You get a new customer, you raise your prices, you expand the sales you have with that particular customer, you rearrange your people. Maybe it's not a happy topic, but maybe you decide to part ways with someone who's hurting the rest of the organization and keeping them from being productive. Those are what I call quick wins. Without, I can't overestimate how valuable those are in changing the mindset. You change the mindset not just by meditating, you change the mindset by doing things.
Agreed. I think, Dan, and this was my experience in the program, because I've done other programs before, but other programs are extremely theoretical. But what I think was impactful for our company and many of the other companies that I spoke to that did the program with us is that you are actually literally working on your company. So
Absolutely.
from the very first module, the conversation is around whichever company you belong to. So when you guys say, hey, these are the shifts you can make, you can literally take the ideas and begin to implement next day. And by the following week, if not within that same week, depending on what it is, start to see those measurable changes that you spoke about. And I
Yes.
think that is where the mindset shift starts. That's where the excitement starts. That's where people say, this is more than just a regular program. I go and sit and listen to somebody talk to me. But this is where I can actually take these real life examples and I can hold them in a meaningful way and create an impact with them.
You said it much better than I could. That's exactly right. Yes.
And
This
I,
psycho, I have to say, so going back to my background as a psychologist, there's a term in psychology called psychological success. And psychological success is the feeling that you have some impact, you have some mastery. You can plan something, do it, and see the results. And I think that's really an important part of Scalerator, and that is give people the tools to do something and see almost immediately to see the results of that.
Agreed, agreed. Share with me, Dan, if you can, one of the most powerful transformations that you remember in
Powerful
your, and
what?
I know it's been a lot
Sorry.
of years.
Powerful what?
One of the most powerful transformations that you can remember from any company, anywhere in the world that you've worked. One of the most powerful transformations.
Well, I'll give you a powerful example, but I
Mhm.
don't want to miscommunicate that this is the only meaning of success. Success has many forms, and the most important thing I think we communicate in Scalar is, again, coming back to quick wins. If you're growing at 5, growing at 7 is a huge success. If you're growing at 7, growing at 9 is a huge success. It doesn't. It's not that it's not better or worse than growing from 7 to 70, let's say,
Agreed,
right?
agreed.
Eventually, if you grow from 7 to 9, you'll get to 70 if you do it
Mhm.
systematically, with discipline, with knowledge, and so forth. Okay,
Mhm.
so I'll give you an example that's a very interesting one that I studied for quite a few years, and I published several cases on. It's a company, and the thing I like about it is that it's a company in a place you'd never think there'd be a world leader coming from. I
Okay.
don't think, and it's from Iceland. Iceland is, you know how many
Hmm.
people live in Iceland, Nadia?
No, I
I don't
don't.
want to put you
No.
on the spot, but I'm doing it.
I
It's
have no clue, sorry.
it's about 320,000, 330,000 people. It's a third of the
Wow.
size, sorry, a fifth of the size almost, or a quarter of the size of Trinidad and Tobago, Iceland,
Correct. Yeah.
right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So comes this person named Robert Westman, born and
Mhm.
raised in Iceland. And he was, from interviewing his high school buddies, nothing special. He wasn't the genius of the class. He wasn't the worst in the class either. But
Mhm.
he was a good guy. He was very athletic, spent a lot of time with his friends. Um, long story short, I'll start long story long or short story long. He, at the age of 29, after he comes back from Germany working in a logistics company, he takes over this small generic pharmaceutical company in Iceland that's failing. And he builds it in 8 years, he builds it into the fifth largest generics pharmaceutical company in the world with 11,000 employees from 99 to 11,000 in just 8 years. It's incredible. And
Wow.
again, I say generic pharmaceuticals because it's not like they had some patent or some intellectual property or some technology, quite the opposite. If in generic pharmaceuticals, it has to be copycat. It has to be
Agreed. Yes.
anti-innovative in a way. But
Yes.
this is through real execution, leadership. He's an amazing leader. He
Mhm.
inspires people. He's a positive leader. We see a lot of examples in the world today of leaders who think they have to be good leaders by being arrogant or nasty or bullies. This is a leader who inspires people and gets them to do more and do better and feel like they're part of something. So he does this with
So he leads with kindness.
with activists is the name of with
Mhm.
kindness, but more than that, with also ambition and aspiration and achievement and excitement and like a great
Gotcha.
sports coach, right? And then he does it again with a company called Alvogen, and then he does it
Mhm.
again with a company called Alvotech, and now he has $8 billion companies in a portfolio that he's managing,
Wow.
and he's in his mid 50s. So,
Mhm.
and he manages again through a lot of things. He's very smart, but through inspiration. So
Mhm.
this is a phenomenal example that I think we can learn a lot from because it's not snazzy whiz bang technology and artificial
Yes.
intelligence and all these things, which are very important. It's through real execution, and that's applicable anywhere. Execution and
Agreed.
leadership. Leadership, of
Agreed.
course, discipline and very ethical behavior,
Mhm.
very straightforward and honest behavior. Again, we see lots of examples in the world today of the opposite. This is a good one. So that's my favorite example because it doesn't require any an engineering degree to understand it.
No, it doesn't. It just requires somebody to be human. And to be a good human at that, and to really, understand the team that they're working with and how to inspire their team and to get them where they need them to go. And I think that's huge. And you're right. I mean, that recipe is not just specific to Iceland. It can literally work anywhere
Of
in the
course.
world. And I think, you know, um, as we observe through all the different companies that, you interact with, that cocktail works. And that's a key component. So
Absolutely.
when you guys were educating us about Scalerator, these are the key elements that can really bridge the gap and help a company to grow and blossom and
And I
become what it needs to be.
and I have no doubt that within the 45 or so companies that have completed Scalerator in TNT,
Mhm.
that of them, if they keep growing as they are, and there's several that continue growing, they're exporting more to new countries, more products, with more partnerships. They'll keep going, and someday these are going to be very significant companies.
Agreed.
That's the way it
Agreed.
works. That's the way it works, and I'll feel very proud.
Tell me something, Dan, as we wrap up this session. If there was one takeaway, one key piece of advice that you would give businesses today in today's crazy economy, because the economy is literally flipping on its head with all the craziness that's going on right now, what would be that advice that you would give businesses that are looking to scale and grow in this environment?
Well, you've sort of what's the right word? Put me in a box by saying one piece of advice, because I
Well,
don't
and
I don't think
if
there's.
there's
Well,
more,
okay,
that's fine.
I'll take the challenge. I think if I had to boil it down to one thing, I think it would be to have a one or two or three partners, and they could be family members who have exactly the same vision as you, the same work ethic, the same values about how you treat people, same values of transparency, honesty, trustworthiness, or whatever the values are, achievement. And if you have two, three, four people like that, um, there's no limit. You can do anything. I built a company for 15 years in Israel, and I had two partners. We were extraordinarily different from each other, really different. I'm an American, born and raised in the United States, moved to Israel. Another one would been an intelligence officer in the Israeli army and an engineer. Another one was actually Japanese Israeli and um, spoke fluent Japanese. And we were three very, very different people, but we had common values about how you serve customers. We have common values about being honest and being direct and straightforward. We had common values about that it's the ideas, not the person, that makes the difference. The fact that I'm the CEO doesn't make me right. It just makes me the CEO. We had common values about how you treat people, and that really made us a great company.
I love that. Common values, common ideas, that common vision that you're all achieving, maybe from different points, coming from different angles, but having the same vision and heading in that common direction to achieve it. Yes?
I just finished this podcast myself an hour ago, and I interviewed a co-founder of a
Mhm.
company that's now doing a few tens, I can't say exactly, but a few tens of millions. They've raised hundreds of millions of dollars. They're the leader in their field. It's a medical software company. And I just published it for our interview here. And one of my favorite comments is don't compromise on the on values, on for competence. Don't compromise on alignment of
Mhm.
vision in for competence. You have to have alignment. You have to have alignment in terms of what you're trying to achieve. So
This is an excellent message, Dan. Thank you so very much. Thank you for joining us today. Scalerator. Scalerator to help your business grow, to help your business to sustain growth. Join Scalerator, guys. This is an excellent, excellent program. I cannot say this enough. If you want to get the roadmap to success, this is where it's at. Scale Up, Scalerator with Dan Isenberg and his wonderful team.
Well, you
Thank you
have a
so
great
much,
team.
Dan.
And again, I have to say, it's the team that makes it happen.
Mm,
Yeah, thank you, Nadia. It's great. And I'll see you next week. I'll be in TNT next week, and I'll see you.
Excellent.